Okay, so sad news, very sad news. We learned over the weekend director Michael Cimino passed away, 77 years old. I had heard this on Friday. I'd read something had a message board posting on a forum, and then I'd read something else that was just a rumor. It wasn't true, but apparently it's been confirmed by everybody. And unfortunately, it is true. Michael Cimino, an odd director. You know, a director who is the kind of became to represent at the start of the 80s the height of hubris, of ego, of being irresponsible as a filmmaker, as a director, going nuts. You know, I mean, Francis Ford Coppola, I guess, when he did Apocalypse Now, that was crazy and nuts. But it was a great film. And Heaven's Gate is a great film as well. It is truly great, but it's long, and it's operatic, and it's big, and it's booming, and half the dialogue, you don't understand what the people are saying, you know? I feel like I've watched the film like twice, and I still feel like I want to run through it one more time with subtitles, just so I can get John Hurt's, his whole thing at the beginning. He's doing this accent, he's doing everything. Isabelle Huppert is actually easy to listen to. They didn't want to cast Isabelle Huppert. That was the first clash with the producers. So anyway, let's back up a moment. Who is the great Michael Cimino? Michael Cimino, great film director, started as an architect, as someone in advertising, and he started writing some screenplays in the early 70s. He wrote or co-wrote the screenplay for Silent Running, that great science fiction film. He wrote Magnum Force for Clint Eastwood. And then his directorial debut was Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, which was Jeff Bridges, Clint Eastwood, a great, cool Clint Eastwood-like buddy movie with Jeff Bridges and Clint Eastwood, but it's like a buddy movie, like a caper film. It's a crazy movie, crazy movie. And then on to The Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter is a masterpiece. Even people who don't like Michael Cimino go gaga over The Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter was everybody working at the height of their powers. Robert De Niro working at the height of his powers. Christopher Walken working at the height of his powers. Meryl Streep. It's a film of authenticity and pain and reality, coming to terms with Vietnam in the 70s, in the mid to late 70s. It was a film, you know, and of course the great performance. We can't neglect talking about John Cazale, the great little character actor. Lived such a short life and a short career, but my God, what an incredible career. The Godfather 1 and 2, Dog Day Afternoon. When he was making this movie, he was dying. He was dying of cancer. He died literally a couple months, I think, after the film was finished shooting. The film company didn't want to hire him. They didn't want. Once they found out about his illness, and so Michael Cimino and Meryl Streep, who was engaged to John Cazale, they gathered around him, and what an incredible performance, an incredible film, great movie. I mean, the whole Russian roulette sequence, iconic, and it's like white hot drama, great stuff. You know, I don't think I've seen Vietnam done quite as well is in The Deer Hunter. I mean, Platoon is one thing, Apocalypse Now is another thing, but The Deer Hunter is something to be proud of. After The Deer Hunter, Michael Cimino made his movie, his epic movie, his Gone with the Wind, his Lawrence of Arabia, Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was a project that bloomed, took millions and millions and millions of dollars, took years to finish, ran through hours and hours of film. Sets were built, bulldozed, 40, 50 takes. Just the extravagance, the insanity of the film. And then the movie came out and bombed, very, very bad. Everybody panned it, gave it bad reviews, said, okay, this is a director who is, kind of given, too much and is run wild with it. And, the proof is not in the box office receipt. I mean, William Friedkin can spend, 2 weeks, filming a pan of bacon in The Exorcist, but The Exorcist is The Exorcist. And Heaven's Gate is Heaven's Gate, and even the name Heaven's Gate has come to kind of personify. Not so much as now. People have kind of forgotten Heaven's Gate and it's kind of turned around, and the young people are like, wow, this is a great film. But in the 80s, Heaven's Gate was like, oh my God, disaster. It's like Heaven's Gate was synonymous with over-budget disaster, along with Ishtar and stuff like that. So, after that, after Heaven's Gate, Cimino was at the top, was leading the pack. I mean, there was Coppola, there was Scorsese, there was George Lucas, there was Spielberg, and right up there was Cimino. He was up there with the top of the 70s directors. One movie, Deer Hunter, put him right up on even keel with those guys. And then after that, he recovered. He made films after that. He made film Year of the Dragon, which is produced by Dino De Laurentiis. It was, again, a mobster crime film about Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke is this kind of almost like 50s detective. It was like a modern film, but it was like almost like neo-noir. It almost reminds me in some ways vaguely of like Blade Runner. I don't know why. It's fighting the Yakuza in Chinatown. John Lone is in it. And the movie like goes on for 3 hours. It's big and operatic and insane, just like all of his movies. It's nuts. It's crazy. And then he went on to make other movies. He made a movie, The Sicilian, which again is like a Godfather-esque, crime bandit Italian epic with Christopher Lambert. Was cut in the U.S., but then released uncut. Very recently, it's been released uncut on Blu-ray. I've been wanting to see that. It looks epic. It looks epic, man. There's a very bad copy of it on YouTube. The Desperate Hours, he directed in 1990. A remake of the older film, and I guess play, again with Mickey Rourke and Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins, just as he was, reeling from the success of Silence of the Lambs. I don't remember that being an okay movie. It was just like a generic movie. It was just like, okay, Desperate Hours. It was a movie that kind of came and went in 1990. The last film he directed, the last feature film he directed was Sun Chaser in 1996, a film with Woody Harrelson and this gangbanger who's sick and like American Indian, and they're going into the desert, and it was like a vision quest. And that was a weird movie. I've seen pieces of that on cable. And then he kind of disappeared, And then about 10 years ago, he kind of resurfaced, and he looked very different. He looked very unusual. I don't know what to say. Some people have said plastic surgery. There could be illnesses involved. I mean, think about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson looked very unusual, but at the same time, with his white skin, but he had vitiligo. His hair was practically all burnt off from that Pepsi commercial accident. So there were physical reasons why he went through all those changes. He didn't just say, "Oh, I want to be a freak one day." There were reasons, and I don't know Michael Cimino's reasons, but I mean the reality is that within the past couple of years, if you compare like video of him, like at the interview with Heaven's Gate in 1981, like Michael Cimino, like. Okay, Heaven's Gate in 1980. He looks like an Italian guy, and then you look at one of the last public appearances, the Locarno. He went at the Locarno Film Festival. They got him on stage, and he stayed there for like 2 hours. 2 hours. They had to pull him off. He just kept going on and rambling on about stuff. You look at him. at the Locarno Film Festival, and that is a guy who looks way different than he used to look. He's 77, almost 77, probably by that point, and man, what a transformation! What a difference! I don't know. If it was plastic surgery, it's very odd. I mean, you think of plastic surgery, you see extreme stuff like that with models, women who are like, ancient in model terms, who's like 35 or 40, and they start nipping and tucking and, not just kind of aging gracefully and what have you. So you see that in women, actors, actresses, but a director, you think about what did John Frankenheimer or Martin Scorsese Stanley Kubrick looked like a house painter. You've seen pictures of him, man. But so he must have had ego issues, personal image issues, if that was just pure cosmetic. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I mean, I don't think I need to really speculate as well. I mean, you can just, look at what he looked like, and kind of, I think it would be a great documentary. How, he talked about how he had this room full of scripts, and he was always trying to make stuff and scripts, and he'd write scripts. And so, I mean, my God, for like 20 years, he's been writing scripts since Sun Chaser in 1996. Who knows what's going on? You should really watch the Locarno footage of his interview. They've been pulling it off YouTube. You can do a search for Michael Cimino Locarno. You may find it. You could also check out the commentary track they did for The Deer Hunter. I believe it's on a UK DVD. I have it somewhere around here, and it might be on YouTube. It is an interesting thing. He talks very in depth about what he did with the Deer Hunter, and again, it's very. There are always two sides to any story. I mean, if you read the book Final Cut, which was one of the executives behind United Artists, the company, the studio that financed Heaven's Gate. It's a very scathing book. They made a documentary about a television documentary for the now defunct Trio network. It's on YouTube as well, the documentary. That's an interesting documentary. It goes about, it talks at length about the excesses of Michael Cimino and what happened. And but Michael Cimino never really, as much as you hear interviews with him, he never really answers any questions. He always seems like he kind of talks in circles a little bit. He talks in riddles. He talks in circles. It goes on for hours on the commentary track, Year of the Dragon. He goes on in this commentary track for The Deer Hunter. He just kind of, and in this Locarno thing, he goes on for hours and hours and hours, and it's like, for 2 hours rather, but I mean, it's just weird. But no matter what you say about him, I mean, Deer Hunter is the landmark. Deer Hunter still is just a beautiful film shot by the late Vilmos Zsigmond. Oh my God, it's a beautiful looking film, full of beautiful performances. As I said, that the triangle, those three incredible performances by by Walken and Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep at the height of their power, at the height of their 70s actor, director, film, new wave, Hollywood. That's it, that's it, man. It's the Godfather and The Deer Hunter and Dog Day Afternoon, and oh man, exciting times, exciting movies. Heaven's Gate is worth watching. It's a very big, sprawling, epic movie, which maybe, as I said, requires subtitles. But I really want to watch the Sicilian. I want to see if there's some magic in there. So, anyway, those are some of my scattered random thoughts about Michael Cimino, who he is, why he's so important. He made a beautiful film in the 70s. I don't think there really was a director in the 70s who went so high and then went so low, to the point of really in the past 20 years kind of disappearing and making these very strange public appearances. There's a interview in The Hollywood Reporter. he did a couple years ago. It's a long, rambling interview, which you can read. You could just check that out. Man. A great director. A great director who made really great films, made very long movies, but made one movie that is just bona fide brilliant. The Deer Hunter. Great.